Hello, everyone. Welcome. This is Nick from Top Notch Sports. This is the current state of the New York Jets. The Jets were 7-10 in the 2022 NFL season, finishing with a record of 7-10 and finished last, fourth in the AFC East. This year, they try to bring in quarterback Aaron Rodgers to turn around this franchise. But unfortunately, in the very first game in the opening series, Aaron Rodgers would suffer from a torn Achilles. He's trying to make his comeback sooner rather than later, but with the Jets falling apart this season, it's looking likely that they're going to miss the playoffs once again, and Rodgers may just wait to the 2024 NFL season. With this all happening, there's been a lot of rumors between Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas. Will they remain the coaching staff in the 2024 NFL season, or will they be fired as their seats are getting hotter and hotter by the game? This is the current state of the New York Jets. All right, so currently the New York Jets are 4-7 this season, and there are 6 games remaining. So at 4-7, look, this is a year that, nobody really wants to remember. The Jets coming in, I'll never forget Rodgers waving the American flag. This team was my team. This was my pick to win the Super Bowl this year. And unfortunately, when Rodgers went down, it completely went down the drain. I honestly didn't think it was a torn Achilles right away. I thought they still had hope. Maybe he just got a little shaken up. Maybe he twisted his ankle, maybe high ankle sprain. But when it was a torn Achilles, everyone's dream kind of went down the drain. Now, I was a huge fan of Zach Wilson coming out of college. I still have a lot of hope for him. I know a lot of the Jets fans don't. I know a lot of the NFL fans don't. But his talent is there. It's just that this team, truly, after looking closer at this team, still isn't fully there. I honestly, Rodgers would have been able to pull out a few more of these wins, and Rodgers still may have been able to pull some magic out of his hat and maybe get this team to the playoffs and make a little bit of a push. But thinking that this team can win the Super Bowl, after watching this team's tape over the last few weeks, and honestly, this entire season, it's tough to say they would have done that, because when I look at the team, the offensive line's really struggling. It's a little bit banged up and all. But the pressure on Zach Wilson, or now Tim Boyle, has been insane. The only true weapon right now is Garrett Wilson. I like Allen Lazard, but that was a Rodgers guy. I like Randall Cobb back in the day, but that was a Rodgers guy. There really aren't too many weapons. I do like Tyler Conklin. I do like Jeremy Rucker. I do like CJ Uzomah, but they really don't get the tight ends involved. Nathaniel Hackett, again, he succeeded under Rodgers when he was with Rodgers in Green Bay. When he was not with Rodgers, they failed in Denver. So Hackett really hasn't been a proven coordinator either. The only time he's been proven was with Rodgers. And I have a good feeling that Rodgers brought him in because, I'm just going to throw this out there. I think Aaron Rodgers probably bullies him around and tells him what plays to call, or is able to change a play to the line of scrimmage. I don't think Zach Wilson and Tim Boyle are doing the same. So with that being mentioned, I don't think Hackett's his expert offensive coordinator. I don't think the Jets have a lot of good weapons. I don't think the Jets have a very good offensive line. The two pieces the Jets have for sure is Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall on offense. And on defense, I love their defense, and I love Robert Saleh. So, I'll be honest with you. The front office, I love everybody. I love Saleh. I love Joe Douglas. I like Jeff Albrecht. I like the entire staff, really. The only one I really don't love right now is Nathaniel Hackett, but I think he'll mesh fine with Aaron Rodgers, so you got to keep him around. The issue with this team right now is, the offensive side of the ball is not where it needs to be without Aaron Rodgers. So you're going to have to wait a whole nother year. So 4-7, let's look. When you guys beat the Buffalo Bills week 1, that was just phenomenal for you guys. Zach Wilson came in, was able to somehow win that game. Then you lose to Dallas, you lose to the Patriots, you lose to the Chiefs. The only bad loss there, in my opinion, honestly, is New England. After looking at New England this season, that should have been a win. Then you go and you beat Denver and you beat Philadelphia. Denver was still getting their feet underneath them. Philadelphia is a tough team. That's just a great win. And again, that's what this team can do when they're firing all cylinders. And I do want to mention the Chiefs game too. Zach Wilson was a player or two away from winning this game. Okay. So again, he's showing signs of flashes. And, I know you don't look at his stats and you don't like it, but the team just isn't there yet. And, is he fully developed yet? No. And I know he might not be the future of the Jets, but I think that if a team is willing to work with him, he could be the guy somewhere. And is he ever going to be a superstar, all-star, Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen? No. But I think with talent, he could still succeed in the NFL. The New York Giants game, you win that one. That's another good win for you guys. I thought you should have won that one. Lose against the Chargers, honestly, I expected. Loss against Las Vegas, That's one I did not want to see the Jets lose. That's one that you probably should have won. But it was, I believe that was the first week of Antonio Pierce being the coach of the Raiders. They had a little bit of fire lit under their ass and were ready to go. You lose against Buffalo, you lose against Miami. Honestly, the only game that you lost, I feel like you should have won in the last 4 games, is the Las Vegas game. Before that, New England. So you take 2 losses, you turn them into 2 wins, you put you at 6-5, and you're sitting here in your pretty good spot. But right now, you're in a rough spot because going forward, the schedule doesn't get any easier. And, if you keep losing, Rodgers won't be coming back anytime soon. So 4-7, 6 games remaining. Let's see what our model projects, and let's see what our experts project. But before we do that, we got to look at the depth chart. So here is the New York Jets depth chart, okay? We look at this team, and this is what we got. You look at the quarterback position, again, Tim Boyle and Zach Wilson. Right now, it's Tim Boyle's a guy. Zach Wilson's a backup. This does not do anything at all for this team. I honestly don't know why you're still going to rock and roll with Tim Boyle. I mean, what do you got to lose now with starting Zach Wilson? I know the team was looking good, but you clearly saw what happened with, Tim Boyle, and it wasn't much. So, I mean, at this point, I honestly think Zach Wilson gives you a better chance than Tim Boyle. But hey, it is what it is. Maybe you use Trevor Siemian. I don't know. You look at the rest of this offense again. Breece Hall, I like Breece Hall. Dalvin Cook was a good signing. Although you guys haven't been using him, what I really think you should do, I think that he was going to be the icing on the cake when you had Rodgers. Since it's Tim Boyle and Zach Wilson, you can't get the running game going, so there's no use to really even have Cook. And Cook's getting frustrated too, which I would too. I mean, he came here try to win a championship, and they're not really utilizing him. You look at the receivers. Garrett Wilson, again, is like the only guy. I like Allen Lazard. Allen Lazard, though, clearly, there's been a little bit of drama between him and the coaching staff right now. We don't really know what's going to happen, and he hasn't been looking really good with the quarterback situation. Xavier Gipson, has some signs of flashes, but again, you don't want this being your starting wide receiver room. Offensive line's in a pretty bad situation. You see Elijah Vera Tucker on the IR, Connor McGovern on the IR. You signed Laken Tomlinson to a big contract I believe it was a year ago or 2 years ago. Max Mitchell, Joe Tippmann, and Xavier Newman. I mean, this is not what you want your offensive line to look like, especially when you have a young guy in Zach Wilson or when you have an aging vet like Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers would not have dealt with this offensive line. And week 1, we saw him get hit a bunch already. So that doesn't give me a lot of confidence that this team was going to be very good with Rodgers, let alone Zach Wilson or Tim Boyle. Look at the defense. Look, this defense I love. Quentin Jefferson, Quentin Williams, Al Woods is on the IR, and Solomon Thomas. This interior is very good. Jermaine Johnson was my number 1 edge rusher coming out of 2 years ago, the draft. That was with Hutchinson and Kayvon Thibodeau. The thing about Jermaine Johnson is, he might not be that elite pass rusher like everyone wants him to be, like, 10 sacks, 12 sacks. He might not be the biggest highlight guy, but he can stop the run and the pass better than anybody. I think he's the best pure edge rusher in that draft class. Another guy I liked a lot, too, coming out of this year's draft class was Will McDonald. So now you get, 2 of my top, I would say 7 edge rushers in each draft class. Will McDonald was probably right around 7-8 for me. Jermaine Johnson was number 1 coming out. John Franklin Myers and Huff, okay on that side. Franklin Myers can get to the pass, pass every once in a while. Sauce Gardner, again, monster for you guys. Quincy Williams, stud. CJ Mosley, very good. Jamie and Sherwood. Tony Adams, Jordan Whitehead, and Ashton Davis. One guy that I absolutely love is Jordan Whitehead. I like this guy when you brought him in from Tampa. Phenomenal. Love this guy. So you guys have a lot of pieces. And this defense with Jeff Albright and Robert Saleh is good enough to win you games. It's just the offense right now is sputtering out of control, and it's been like that for the last 2 years. Show your current records 4-7. Our analytical engine says that there are 0 favorable games left in the schedule, 2 unfavorable games left on the schedule, and 4 toss-up games. So our analytical tool is a tool that Noah Thompson built for us, and he's our statistics guy on the channel. He, this tool is a way it enters in a bunch of numbers and data from the teams, and it makes predictions. And at the end of the video, you'll see what its projected record is versus our projected record. So these are the games they say that there's 4 toss-ups and 2 unfavorable. No favorable. With a 4-7 record, you really want to see some favorable games on there. Well, unfortunately, according to the model, there is none. So unless you win all 4 of these, and even if you do, you're at 8-9. That's a losing record. That's not enough to make the playoffs. So, your chances for playoffs are basically over at this point, according to the analytical tool, unless some crazy, crazy stuff happens. So that's where you're at right now. 4 toss-ups, most likely, there's a good shot that you win 2 of these possibly. Maybe you win 3. I mean, that's on the bright side. You win 2 or 3 of these toss-up games, puts you at 6 or 7 wins. Still not enough. And honestly, at that point, you're just hurting your draft pick. So that's where we're at right now. 4 toss-ups, 2 unfavorable games going into the final 6. Your current record is 4-7, and there are 2 unfavorable games left on the schedule. According to our analytical tool, these are the game against Miami and the game against Houston. Look, Miami's a tough team this year. Absolutely a tough team. A lot of firepower on offense. Not, you know what I mean? Like, your defense is capable of making stops on this offense. The issue is that your offense is not capable of scoring points on their defense, ran by Vic Fangio. So that's where you come into problems. And Miami is a tough team for anybody in the league this year. Houston has been a shocker to a lot of people. DeMeco Ryan, I'm a huge fan of him when he was a player and as a coach. I loved him coming when he took over that job. CJ Stroud was my number 1 ranked quarterback last year, so everything he's doing is not really too far-fetched, in my opinion. I thought that's basically what he would be doing. Thought he would be a superstar in this league. But, the way he's been able to dominate with the lack of weapons, I mean, Tank Dell, Nico Collins, I like both of them coming out of the draft, but they're looking like superstars too because of CJ Stroud, and Damian Pierce is someone that I thought was going to be good again for this team this year. He hasn't even been the guy. Someone like Devin Singletary has been, stepping up. You look at the defense, Will Anderson Jr. has been phenomenal for that team. My number 1 ranked edge rusher, but hell, I didn't think he would be doing that good so far this year. Derek Stingley Jr., my number 1 ranked cornerback coming out of the draft last year, looking really good this year. Jalen Petrie, a safety from last year, looking really good. So the Texans are a tough team too. So again, this is nothing to be really upset about. These are 2 tough games in general. If you're a good team, these would probably be considered toss-up games. But right now, the Jets situation without Rodgers, yeah, they're unfavorable. Current Rodgers 4-7. There are 4 toss-up games. These games are defined as the game against Atlanta, the game against Washington, the game against Cleveland, and the game against New England. Look, these are all winnable games. Okay, Atlanta, going to be tough to stop the run. That's what they like to do. You could win this game. I think, hell, if you play Zach Wilson, you had a really good shot at possibly winning this game. Play Tim Boyle, I don't know. I really don't know. The one thing about Atlanta is they're going to run the ball. Your guys' defense is good enough to stop this team. They are good enough to stop them. You just need points. And I know you're going to keep saying, well, Zach Wilson didn't score his points either. You're right. He didn't really score you a lot of points, but I'm telling you, there's way more talent there with him. There's a reason why he went in the first round and Tim Boyle didn't. Okay? Zach Wilson has talent. Tim Boyle does not. So we'll see what happens. If you want to lose out, yeah, you start Tim Boyle. Washington was a tough team a few weeks ago, when they had Chase Young and Montez Sweat. They're still a tough team now, but this is another winnable game. Their offense is okay, though, with Eric Bieniemy and Sam Howell and Brian Robinson Jr. and Antonio Gibson, Terry McLaurin. We can keep going. Jahan Dotson, Curtis Samuel, Diami Brown, okay? They have a lot of pieces. So, your defense is good enough to stop this offense. Again, can your offense score points on this defense? That's the question. Cleveland, phenomenal defense. And a good enough offense for now that they're going to probably beat you. And the New England game, piss poor offense right now. I feel bad for Mac Jones. Everyone can say Mac Jones stinks. He doesn't stink. Just, no weapons. The play calling, I like Bill O'Brien, but it's just not where it needs to be. And he's even calling okay plays, but the talent just isn't there. And Jones can't do much without a lack of talent. That's just the way it is. So it would be tough on any quarterback. So those are your 4 toss-up games. All right, here we go. So here we are now predicting your next 3 games. With 3 games left on the schedule, okay, predicting your first 3. Here's what we got. We have a projected record of 4-9 after your next 3. You play Atlanta, Houston, and Miami, okay? And Atlanta is still too close to call. We don't know. This game can go either way. We're going to save that for the end of the video. We don't know how this game is going to go. It's too close to call right now this second. The game against Houston, the game against Miami, 2 unfavorable games according to the analytical tool. We agree. we're giving you 2 losses, which right now with 3 games left on the schedule, 1, 2, 3, we have you at 4-9. Okay, 1 game undecided. We'll leave that for the end. With 0 games remaining, we have you at 5-10. The Commanders game, we say, is also too close to call. We're going to leave that one down for the wire. Okay, we don't know. It's going to be too close. We'll have to wait and see. The game against Cleveland, they're potent defense. We just don't see you winning that game. And we feel like you do end up scratching out a win against the New England Patriots. Now, the reason why we're saying this is because at that point in time, who knows? They might be starting Malik Cunningham. They might be starting Bailey Zappi. You know, they honestly may be going for a top 3 draft pick. And your defense is good enough to make stops on that offense. It's going to come down to the wire. Your defense is going to, your defense is one of the best in the league. Hopefully by that point, Rodgers could be back. If Rodgers is back just to play a game and maybe, see if he can figure some things out. Maybe Saleh is fighting for his job and just showing them this is what I can do with Rodgers, and Rodgers comes back and they just want to show that they can win a game together. This could be a game that happens. We're going to ultimately say a win. So we have you at 5-10 with 2 question marks left on the schedule. Okay, so let's see what we think those 2 will be. With no games remaining, we have it being, wow, we have a win against the Falcons and a win against the Commanders. Now, hear us out, okay? The Atlanta game, again, as we mentioned, your defense is good enough to make stops. They just need to score. So I don't know who their quarterback's going to be yet. I don't think a lot of us know who the quarterback's going to be yet. But, man, they just got to get in field goal range and kick some dang field goals. And we truly do believe that their defense is good enough to stop Desmond Ridder and this offense. So there's that. The Commanders game, again, look, the Commanders have given away a lot of pieces this year. Sweat, Young, right? And they're kind of sputtering out of control too. They just fired Jack Del Rio. They're trying stuff. The issue is that they're going to be versing the Jets with one of the top tier defenses. If Rodgers decides to come back and play maybe the final 2-3 games of the season, this could very well be a win for the Jets. And you might say, why are we winning games? You win 2 of the last 3 games, or you go 3-3 in the last 6. That's not horrible. That's not a horrible way to end the year. And you can go into next year and be like, you know what? We feel comfortable that we're going to make another step forward with Rodgers actually being our quarterback next year and another draft class coming in and another free agency. So that's what we got. Now let's go to our final slide. 2 more slides. So our predicted record, we have you at 7-10. Our analytical tool believes your absolute floor, if everything hits the fan, would be 4-13. It is likely that you go 6-11 according to our analytical tool. And they believe that your ceiling, if everything goes right, is 9-8. So again, 4-13 is the floor, 6-11 is what they're projecting, and a 9-8 ceiling if everything goes right from here on out. So again, we're off by 1 game. We're giving you an extra win according to our analysts on our channel. And it is likely, according to our analytical tool, that you end up 6-11. So they have you -1 compared to us. So for our final slide, your current record is 4-7. We have you winning 3 and losing 3 in the final 6. And our final record prediction is 7-10. So here's our final prediction. The New York Jets will finish with a record of 7-10. Finish 4th in the AFC East, missing the playoffs, and ultimately trying to make a push in the 2024 NFL season. Once again, our final prediction is the New York Jets finish with a record of 7-10, finish 4th in the AFC East, missing the playoffs, but trying to rebound in the 2024 season, hopefully hoisting the Lombardi Trophy in New York. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all from us. We'll see you guys soon. This is the current state of the New York Jets. See you guys soon. Peace. We are Bill Peters.
What, Eddie? What is that?